As of 2026, in Spain, a community can restrict you guys from renting properties. The rents for 50K a week. People will pay a lot less for that property. What's the impact on your property price if your community has voted against rental restrictions? I think, picture this. You buy this perfect property overlooking the sea, you renovate it, you make it absolutely perfect, and you put it on Airbnb, to then receive a letter from your community saying that you're not allowed to rent your own property. This is a reality in Spain, and in this video, we're going to be talking about how community of owners can restrict your rental ability in Spanish real estate and in Spanish property. Let's go. We are back with another rental video. There are so many videos we've done in 2025 about rental restrictions. We've invited, numerous experts on our channel to talk about the changes that happened in 2025 and the regulations through to 2026. And in this video, I'm going to be covering a few interesting points for you guys if you're current, owners of property in Spain, or you're thinking of buying a property in Spain. We're going to be talking about the impact of how a community can restrict you from renting your property out in 2026. Right, let's get into it. We had a president of a local community that stays posted on Spanish regulations on our channel. He came into our office and said, hey guys, can you produce a video on the impact of restricting rentals on a property? So if a community restricts rentals, what would be the impact on the property value? And we thought, wow, that's interesting. Let's do a video about it. And here we are. So let's get started with some general points. As of 2026, in Spain, a community can restrict you guys from renting properties. But it's not only the communities, there's different layers. We can first start with, autonomically. So, region by region, you're gonna have a governing body that allows you to get a rental license. And that's the first thing you need, right? A rental license, it's the autonomic rental license. And then on top of that, you need to have your national registration number, which is something that the Spanish government put into place in 2025. And then you need your local municipality to allow, rental licenses to be expedited. And finally, in order to tick all three boxes, you need your community to authorize you to rent your property, right? Your community needs to expressively agree to you renting your property. So let's actually go into that for one moment. This only applies to properties that are part of a community. So if you're not part of a community, you don't need the community approval. If you are part of a community, you will always need your community approval. How does this work? The community need to approve touristic rentals in an AGM or an EGM by 3/5 majority. That's how it works in Spain. Once you have that approval, you ask your administrator for a letter, and that's the letter that you would send, or the certified letter signed by the administrator and the president, and that's the letter you would use to then apply for a rental license. So what happens is that there are people that have bought property in Spain in 2025 that had the plans to rent out their properties and have not been able to do so because when they've asked the community for the rental certificate or a rental sort of letter that they're allowed to rent their properties, the community has either not had an AGM and not voted on it, or they've had the AGM and they've voted against it. So the question here is, what's the impact on your property price if your community has voted against rental restrictions? It's a very difficult question to answer because, people expect a percentage. What's the impact on the property price? Is it a 5? Is it a 10%? And the answer is, it depends. Spain's huge. Spain's massive. It depends on your market. It depends on your location. It depends on the property type. And it depends on the rental appeal, right? If you look at a property that's located in a touristic environment, a place, for example, I'll give you an example, like in our local market in Malaga, a property that might be located in Lower Calahonda, just next to our office, right? It's a popular touristic area where rental accommodation, occupancy rates are around the 55% per year. So yeah, pretty much, in a location like this, if your apartment or your properties does not have a rental license, when it comes to selling it, it's not that, someone will pay less for it. There's just a smaller buyer pool for your property. And that's exactly what this is about. In our market of Malaga, for example, we normally say that we have different buyers for properties, but our buyers fall into the three different categories. Number one, buyers that buy property to relocate, to use it themselves. You have buyers that buy a property purely as an investment and then, to rent it out, or long-term or short-term, and then you've got people that buy property as a holiday home, right? So those three are the category of buyers in Spain, and you've got a hybrid version of people that buy a property as a holiday home, and when they're not there, they use it and rent it out as Airbnb, right? So let's just say that generally speaking, the buyer ratio of a buyer pool of these kind of buyers in Spain, in Costa del Sol, in Malaga, where we're located, is 33, 33, 33. Just a general rule. It depends in the sub-market you're in. Marbella is different to Benavides. Benavides is different to Estepona. You get the gist, right? But let's say it's 33, 33, 33. What does that mean? That means that if you've got a property for sale in an area like Calahonda, like we just mentioned, and you don't have a rental license and your community does not allow you to rent your property out and you can't get a rental license, that means that you have a smaller buyer pool. Does that necessarily mean someone would pay less for that property? I think slightly. I do think so. I think that, the reality is that for not having the option to rent it out might basically bring the appeal of the property down because, people want options. People want to be able to use their property as a holiday home and also rent it out. So I do think that apart from having a smaller buyer pool, you will have an impact on the price. But it's very difficult to say how much that is. Like my guesstimate is, and I have to say it's too early for us in the market to actually give a percentage to it. I would say roughly, 5%. That seems like quite right. But we're gonna be a lot smarter this time next year once we have enough data to back this up. But it could be up to 10, 15%. Let me give you an example. If we're talking about a property in the Golden Mile of Marbella that rents for 50K a week, and this property, by the way, those properties do exist. Check them out on Airbnb. If you are not able to rent that property out because you don't have the rental license and you're not able to get that sort of rental return, which is so incredible, the rental returns they get, well, yeah, people will pay a lot less for that property, and property, let's say, value could be affected by up to 10%. Again, this is really early days, but there is definitely a financial impact. There's implication of communities prohibiting rentals, and I would say that it's around the 5%. I would say that's my sort of high homes guess. Again, this time next year, we will know. Right. So that's sort of my view on it, as Kiambenani, real estate agent in the south of Spain. And I'd love to know what you guys have to say about it as well in the comment section below. What do you think about, a community restricting Airbnb rentals on the value of your property? Comment below. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. And that's really it. We're just on here because, like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, we had a president of a community walk in and tell us that this video hadn't been done and they'd love to have our view on the impact on rental restrictions from a community level on property values, and this is our view. So we hope you enjoyed it. Comment below any comments or any questions you guys have about this or your opinion, like I mentioned earlier. And if it's the first time you come across our content and you want to stay posted about rental regulations, press the subscribe button. We don't only cover content on rental regulations, we do amazing content on Spanish real estate, Spanish lifestyle, and much more. So don't be shy. Press that subscribe button. And if this video was useful, press that like button. And until the next time, guys, hasta luego.